That could be really good because that was such a. Hold on.
That was really smooth.
Wasn't it?
It was.
Oh, it's great then.
You know that rehearsal we were talking about? Hold on.
I've eaten popcorn. It's in my teeth.
Because it's not spinach.
Oh, live now, it says.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm live.
Hold on. Right. We are now live. Take 2. Welcome to the book club and the latest episode of Tracy Talks To. And I'm delighted to be talking this week to Lisa Jewell, Amanda Prowse and Rowan Coleman. I'm just waiting for my other screen to turn up to say that it is live. And can anyone see it on their screen? Does it look like we're live? Yes, we're live. Okay, Laurel says, hi ladies. Marie is online, is waving. We will be getting the TBC members to ask questions later when I run out of interesting things to discuss. But first, before we start anything, I'm going to ask you each to introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you write, and perhaps your latest book. So if you don't mind, we could start with Lisa first.
Hello, yes, so I am Lisa Jewell, author of, well, now I can officially say I'm the author of 19 novels because I finished my 19th just before Christmas. No, just after Christmas. My first novel was called Rouse Party and it came out in 1999. It was a romantic comedy. I've since moved from writing romantic comedies into writing dark psychological thrillers, and my latest one is called Invisible Girl, and it comes out in paperback tomorrow in the UK. Yes. So, and Invisible. Do you want me to talk about Invisible Girl?
We can talk about it afterwards. Let's
talk about it afterwards.
Let's talk about it afterwards. Lovely, thank you, Amanda. Hello.
Hello. I'm Amanda Prowse, and I wrote my first novel in 2012. I write women's fiction. I always call it, but actually, it's not really women. I don't know if I'm allowed to say women's fiction anymore. Am I?
Yeah.
I write for women because I kind of think I write for women like me, and I just write slices of family life, I think. Oh, my current book. Do I do that now? Is that?
Well, you can tell us a little bit. When is your current book is actually a non-fiction book, correct?
Oh,
yeah. We can talk about that one, or yes.
Yeah, that one is. My current book is a non-fiction book. My first non-fiction book, called The Boy Between, and it's a story of my son's battle with depression. Not a comedy. But yeah, so first foray into non-fiction, very strange, but yeah, brilliant.
Thank you. Rowan.
Hello, I'm Rowan Coleman, author of many novels. I've lost count.
29, my God.
But my first novel, Growing Up Twice, was published in 2002. And I've written under my own name and various genres for the every time in between. My most recent Rowan novel was The Girl at the Window, and my most recent side project is as Bella Ellis, writing Victorian crime mysteries, and they are called The Vanished Bride and the Diabolical Bones. And they imagined that before they were renowned authors, the Bronte sisters were amateur sleuths. So it's super fun.
Lovely. And you've also co-wrote with someone quite famous recently, or last year?
I did co-write a novel with Cara Delevingne, but I can't talk about it, sorry.
Okay, we'll just edit that bit out afterwards. So just before we came live, before my little technical glitch, we were talking that all three of you have, I think, personally, fascinating journeys to publication, your road to success. So if you want to just tell everybody about how you came to be where you are today. Lisa, please.
Yes, I'm very happy to tell the story. It might be the 1,010th time I've told the story, but I never ever get bored of telling it because it is so nice, and I think it is very inspiring for anybody who's thinking they might have a novel inside them. Yes, so I didn't go to university. I didn't do A-levels. I was working in the fashion industry when I had a conversation with a friend about I just read High Fidelity on holiday, And I had a conversation, a very drunk conversation with a friend about how I secretly wanted to write a novel. And she made me a bet. She said, I think you could probably just write 3 chapters and send that to some agents. Why don't you just do that? And if you do that, I'll take you out for dinner to your favourite restaurant. And yeah, so I took her up on her bet and we shook hands and I wrote the 3 chapters. And I sent them to some agents and they turned out to be the first 3 chapters of my first novel, Rouse Party, which was quite a big seller in the year it came out, 1999. And here I am 22 years later, all because I had a really great conversation with a friend when I was drunk in 1996. So here I am.
Fabulous. Wonderful, thank you. Amanda, now you actually had, despite having written around 37 novels, is that that's what I put, 30 novels or small, or that's what, according to Fantastic Fiction, I did my homework, I just want you to know, I've got 37 there.
Yeah.
In 4 years. Is that right?
No.
I couldn't. Now, when did you start writing?
Well, 2012 I started writing, so.
Okay, so 8 years.
8 years.
That's not. Oh, that's easy then. 37
years.
and 8 years.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a very funny thing. I didn't have a great education. And I always have been a massive reader. Grew up in a house without any books, big family, living in a flat, no space, no time and no money. And books were my salvation, my friends, my educators, my everything really. And every book I read, I would think, I can do better than that. Or, God, I wish I'd written that. And they sort of fell into 2 camps for me. And it always burned at me that I thought I'd love to have a go, but I didn't really think, first of all, I hadn't done anything. So I thought, what am I going to write about? I've never done anything, I've just cleaned in a pub and done a bit of waitressing and, had, disastrous relationships and grown up with my big family. I haven't been anywhere, I haven't done anything. I thought no one's going to read about that, it's very boring. And then I got cancer and I thought, sod it, this is my one time round the block. If I'm going to do it, have a go. I think how old am I now? I'm 52, so I can't, what's that minus 8? God, my maths is so bad. I'm embarrassing myself in public.
Don't ask me. Hang on, let me get a calculator.
You're amongst friends.
Honestly, my maths is so bad. It makes me.
Same. I'm graded.
So I got very sick.
Sorry.
I'm high-fiving you, Rowan, Coleman. I'm high-fiving you. So I got very sick and I thought, you know what? This is my one time around the block. What do I want to do? I've always wanted to try and write a book. So I wrote my first book, sent it to, that was Poppy Day, and I sent it to, writing really about what I knew, which was what it's like to be a soldier's wife when he goes away on tour. My husband's a soldier. And I thought, I'll send it to anyone with the name book in their title. You might be a book buyer for any company in the world. I'll send you a copy. I sent it to every publisher, every agent, every printer. No one was interested. They said no one wants to read a book about, set in London, Afghanistan, and it just couldn't get any traction, and I was gutted. So I self-published it. And it just went nuts, really, and sold very well. And of course, what I didn't really understand was that once you get your readership, then hopefully they stay with you and they will buy your next novel. And that was it. And it just untapped something in me. And I still just really, I still can't really sort of believe that I had the life I had, that people read my books, want to read my books, and I can do this. This is my life. I find it absolutely amazing, and I still think every day someone's going to wake me up and go, get out. Do you know what I mean? Get back to that pub and clean it. I still think that. I still dream that I don't have a book published. I think that's that horrible old imposter syndrome coming in again, but I think a lot of us suffer with it. It's a horrible feeling that, but I feel very thankful, I feel very grateful, and and then I got an agent, of course, once things started to be a little bit successful for me, and it went from there, so yeah.
Lovely, thank you. Rowan.
Oh, wow. It's interesting because I think I love listening to writers' origin stories, and mine is a little bit like Amanda's and a little bit like Lisa's. I was massively inspired by High Fidelity when I was a bookseller back in those days. But High Fidelity and Bridget Jones's Diary, those 2 books that I thought, wow, these are books written for people like me, and I would really like to write a book like that. I never really thought about it doing it properly for, well, partly because I'm dyslexic and it just seemed silly to try and write a book when you can't spell, and also partly because I worked in a bookshop and I saw how really hard it was. I saw books come in and stay on the shelf, and I realised how competitive it was, and it just seemed too hard. And then it took me about a decade after working in bookshops and working my way up in non-fiction publishers to what they call an editorial manager, which was hilarious because I didn't manage anything at all, really. I just sort of floated about and said ISBN every time somebody asked me something, and I used to hide in my little, I called it an office, but it was a cupboard, and I used to hide in it and say, I'm inputting titles, no one talk to me, and right. And one day I was doing that, reading Company magazine, as you do, and there was a short story competition for Young Writer of the Year, but the cut-off point was 30 years old, and I was 29 and a half. So I suddenly had an existential crisis and thought, flipping heck, I'm going to be too old to do this soon. And so I wrote a short story really quickly and posted it because it was the olden days. And it was it must have been full of typos and errors and no punctuation and all the things that made me think that I couldn't write a novel. And then 3 weeks later, a letter dropped through the door back telling me that I'd won the competition, which was a huge, massive confidence boost to me, because I suddenly thought, well, hang on a minute, and then it's not about punctuation, it's about story. Maybe I can do it. So then I tried. And
how's that going? And how's that going for you now?
It's all right. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
lovely. If you're going to hear barking, I apologise, but my dog's going to start yapping in a minute. He wants to come in. Can we talk about, and then we'll just get this over and done with, and then we can talk about really good stuff. Can we just talk about your latest books? So, Lisa, your book is out shortly, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, just coincidentally.
My arms aren't long enough.
I have one.
And here's one I made
earlier. On the shelf behind me.
Oh!
Bit of luck. Yes, so this is actually the paperback version. So Invisible Girl came out in hardback last year in August, and it's coming out in paperback tomorrow. And yeah, so this is my 18th novel, and it's a story. Is this what you want me to do, Tracy?
Yeah, yes, that would be lovely, because I'm not going to read it for you, so you can tell everyone.
I hate explaining what this book is about because it's the opposite of an elevator pitch book. I get so tongue-tied and go round and round in circles trying to explain what it is and make it sound exciting and interesting, and I fail every time. I'm going to try really hard. Okay, so that's not what?
It's not. That's not. You're not selling. You're selling yourself short, Lisa.
I'm selling myself short, but hopefully not the book.
Okay.
Apparently it's quite good. So whatever I say, just bear that in mind. So it's about, it's set in Hampstead in North London, and it's about a family called the Fours who have moved into a flat temporarily while their house is being renovated. The mother is a physiotherapist, father is a child psychologist, and they've got 2 teenage children. And shortly after they move in, the teenage daughter says she's been followed home from the tube station by the weird-looking guy who lives over the street. The weird-looking guy who lives over the street is called Owen Pick, and he's another character in the book. And Owen Pick is 33 years old. He lives in his aunt's spare bedroom on a single bed and a lumpy mattress. His aunt hates him and locks all the doors in her flat so he can't go into any of the other rooms. And he is a virgin and he's very lonely, and we meet him when he's just lost his job as a college lecturer for inappropriate behaviour at the school college disco, which he vehemently refutes that anything untoward happened. And then in the middle of all of this, a young girl called Sapphire Maddox, she's 17 years old and she's a former patient of Rowan, who's a child psychologist, and she's been stalking him because he, as far as she's concerned, he finished their treatment too soon before he fixed her. So she starts stalking him. And outside his house one night, at midnight on Valentine's night, she goes missing, and the last person to see her alive was Owen Pick, the weird guy across the street.
We need an EastEnders Dum 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 at the end, or don't we?
So it's a story about this family. It's a story about Owen Pick. It's a story about a teenage girl who's lost physically as well as psychologically. And it's also a story about injustice and prejudice, and how you can form the wrong opinions about people by not taking the time to get to know them and find out what makes them tick. And in fact, the working title of this book was called Creep, because that's really what I wanted to write about, was a creepy guy, one of those guys who just gives people the creeps. And I wanted to just get inside his head and sort of spend some time being him and try and see the world from his perspective. So it was really his book to start with, but all these other people turned up to make it what it is. So there. That wasn't too bad, actually. That was the best job I've ever done explaining this book.
And luckily we've taped it, so you can just repeat this as you like.
Exactly. I'm going to cut it and paste it into every single Zoom I do when somebody's...
Just before we move on to Mandy, I just want to read some of the comments that are coming up here, because obviously people are watching and they're typing away. And Tina Jackson wants Lisa to know that she absolutely loved The Invisible Girl and the characters really resonated with her, and Linda Phillips also. And then Joe Edwards has said 3 of the best authors in the same virtual room. Love how Lisa's has changed so much and how Amanda and Rowan's books are so different. The 3 people like that. And Linda Phillips has read 14 of Amanda's books in the last 2 years. I think that deserves a medal.
That's as fast as Amanda's writing them.
So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so we've got guys, and Lisa has just put sold, so I presume Lisa Timoney has pressed sold, so I presume she's just bought that. So the questions are going to be coming in, but I'm not going to actually ask the questions yet from the TBC members, because we've actually still got stuff to discuss ourselves. So Amanda, do you want to talk about your latest, the non-fiction and your fiction?
I've got my next book comes out I think in about 4 or 5 weeks, called An Ordinary Life. And it's a story of 94-year-old Molly, who falls down the stairs, has a stroke and loses her voice. And this book actually came to me when I fell down the stairs. I didn't have a stroke, I didn't lose my voice luckily, but I was fairly crumpled at the bottom, and I thought, this could be how I die. It was so scary. It's a very old house with creaky wooden steps. I sort of hit my head on every one as I went down. It was 3 a.m, sober, I should point out. And I just lay there thinking, oh my gosh. And you have that little moment where you think, what would I like to say to people if I had the chance just right now? And it got me thinking that, so Molly is 94. It's all the things that she would like to say to people who've been in her life, who've been important to her. It's the last 24 hours of her life, pretty much, in hospital. And it also goes into her mind and her memory. We go back to when Molly is a child, her most formative years, when she's during the war in the 1940s, the amazing things she gets up to, and her life really up until the present day when she takes her tumble. And I think it's one of those books for me that everyone thinks they have an ordinary life, don't they? Even if your life is extraordinary to other people, your life is just ordinary because it's yours. And she certainly thinks she's led an ordinary life, but of course she hasn't, it's anything but. So really, I think it's one of those about, I'm always very conscious, I did it in my book Clover's Child as well, about how we view older people. And I know that when, my nan, who really helped bring me up, she was amazing, she had dementia, which we all know about, awful. And I used to look at her, sitting there in her elasticated, waisted trousers, and saying the same story over and over again, and confusing me with my cousin Luke, although I must admit I was a bit beard heavy at that period, so it could have been that. And she used to say the most amazing things and sort of outlandish things. And I used to think, there's so much more to her. She's not just this old person, she was like me. She had sex, she had exercise, she baked, she cooked, she decorated, she bore kids, she was married. She had this incredible ordinary life, but a busy life. And I suppose really that's what I've done for Molly. It's really shine a light on her before she got to that point, because we're all going to be Molly in a blink. This is joyful, isn't it? I know, well done. Yeah, great. But I think really it's the point that you never know by looking at anyone what's gone before, what their life is. And really, that's Holly's story in ordinary life. And I think it's out in about 4 or 5 weeks, but I really like it. And it's the first time, I know Rowan is a master at it, but it's the first time I've done anything kind of slightly historical, but it's wartime, so it's not truly historical in your sense. But I really liked doing the research for it and going back a bit. I found it, a bit like learning, which I like doing, particularly as I did so little of it when I was at school. So I really enjoyed that. So I understand, I bet you love that part of your process, Rowan.
I do love it. It's very great for
Could
procrastination.
you just carry on, talk amongst yourself? I've got to get the dog. So sorry, and Amanda,
About my book.
hang on a second. I will. Can we just, Amanda? Can we talk about your book with your son, please? Because obviously that's quite important.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I don't want to bore people with it because I feel like I talk about it an awful lot, and I don't want to. But it's a book called An Ordinary Life, and my son Josh is amazing. He's wonderful, beautiful. Obviously, the best thing ever in my view. He just owns my heart completely. I wasn't meant to have a baby, and I ended up having one, so I just absolutely worship him. He's 24 now. He's amazing. And Josh was one of these straight A kids, super smart, super brilliant, super clever, super fab. Sailed through school in some ways, academically certainly. And we used to say, oh, he's going to be a doctor, he's going to be this, going off to university. What an amazing thing for a family like ours. Inadvertently piling a lot of pressure on Josh, I think. Josh went off to university. I went off to work on I'm a Celebrity in Australia. And I got a phone call to say that Josh had tried to take his life. And I still can't say it without... It's so ridiculous. I've said it a million times. I've said it in so many medias. Every time I say it, this is the end result. Sorry, but he tried to take his own life. And really, it's about his journey from this really great, high-functioning kid to someone who just didn't want to be on the planet anymore. And it's our journey from that point over the last 6 years, really, to the point of recovery where he is now, which... Of course, there is no real recovery. There's like good days and bad days. He's at home now, which is wonderful, and he has some space, which is great. But there is no moment where we get to sit back and, pop a cork and everything's wonderful. It doesn't work like that. It's just a case of helping Josh tread water and doing everything in my power to keep him.
Thank you. Rowan, sorry, you've got to follow that. Sorry.
Well, first of all, I just want to say to Amanda that is a really great thing to write about. And teenage mental health. I'm a mum of a teenager myself, and the pressure they put themselves under, the stress and anxiety that they feel, it is frightening sometimes. So, I'm sorry that you've gone through that, Amanda. And I hope that things will steadily improve.
I think it's all of us, though. It's all of us, that's the thing. We're not unique, we're not unusual. And I think that's why we wrote it, because it's all of us. We can, all our kids, it's so precious and fragile, and the world is so crazy. That's the thing, it's not special to us, is it? So it's all of us.
Well, I don't know how to really sort of follow up with so my last Rowan book was The Girl at the Window, which is a really nice book, and you should all read it. It's about London Hall, which is a place that I really love, a historic home that I really love. And it's set over 3 timelines, which all interact and interconnect. And it's a love story, really, across time. So if you like Barbara Erskine or... any of those types of authors, then you might like it. Or me, if you like my books, you might like it. And I am working on a new Rowan book. People keep asking me if I've left Rowan Coleman books behind forever just to write Bronte mysteries, but I have not. In fact, I'm writing a new Rowan book now, and I love the idea very much, but I can't tell you what it is. Except
tell us offline when we switch off the camera.
Yeah. If you liked The Summer of Impossible Things, you will like this idea, I think. Very much.
I liked The Summer of Invisible Things.
Yeah, Impossible Things, sure.
She's mixing it with her. She's trying to get the Invisible Girl in there as well.
Books together.
It's fine. I'm just gonna.
The title as well.
I'm just going to read a couple more more comments out here. Oh, I've just dropped something on the floor. That was good.
Wait, I haven't told you about this Bronte mysteries.
Oh
Tracy.
gosh, I'm sorry. Go on, talk to me about the Bronte mysteries, the ones you just so happen to have in your hand.
In the last 2 years, I've been writing the Bronte mysteries, which are cozy mysteries set in the mid-1850s, starring the Bronte sisters as amateur sleuths. And you might think, oh, Bronte sisters, boring, fuddy-duddy, no, don't want to read that. But actually, they're very fun and very action-packed, and make me laugh a lot, and other people who've read them make them laugh a lot, because it's more like Buffy in bonnets or feminist Sherlock Holmes. So if you like a good old-fashioned mystery and you don't mind a bit of romping across the Yorkshire moors at midnight under a full moon with a dog, then these could
So
be...
you're romping with a dog?
Romping with a dog, yes, in the purest sense of the word.
Oh, of course, sorry. I thought that was a
All
completely...
about minds in the gutter.
I thought it was a completely different genre.
So they're awfully fun. I love writing them. I've just been contracted to write 2 more, and it's been optioned for TV, so cross your fingers.
Ooh, heard it here first. Exclusive. Thank you, ladies. I'm going to just we've got quite a few people watching and posting things. I'm not going to read all the comments out because you will be able to read them up later. But Lisa, don't worry, hundreds of people are downloading The Invisible Girl right as we speak, it looks like.
Oh, excellent.
An Ordinary Life, according to Jo Edwards, is absolutely fabulous, and Emma Louise Bunting says it is just so beautiful, and she loved this book and Molly so much. Linda Phillips reads Amanda's books as quickly as she writes them, so she just has some catching up to do. So Jo Edwards would like to know, what is the favourite book of yours, and is it the one you most enjoyed writing? So we'll start with Lisa. Do you have a favourite of all of your books?
Oh, well, because I've written across, well, as we all appear to have, across a few genres, it's hard to choose just one. So I have a favourite rom-com, which is Vincent Joy.
I love that book so much. Vincent Joy is one of my absolute favourites. I love that book so much.
Thank you. Yes, I like that one too. That's the only one I think of my rom-coms that I could possibly imagine rereading without wanting to pull my own eyeballs out. And so I wrote some sort of family dramas before I started writing thrillers, and my favourite one of those is The House We Grew Up In, which is the story of a large family with a mother who's got compulsive hoarding disorder. And then I think my favourite thriller would probably be, I don't know. Let's just say Then She Was Gone. Yeah. Okay. So, and it's got nothing whatsoever to do with the experience of writing the book, how much affection you feel for it afterwards. There's so many different things that feed into feeling affectionate towards a particular book, I think, and the writing of it doesn't really play much of a part. So, to answer the second part of that question.
Thank you. Amanda, same question. Do I have to repeat?
I think I always tend to, the book I love most is the one I'm working on. I think because you sort of get so into it and you sort of live it, don't you? You have to love it because it takes over your head. So I really like one I've just finished called Waiting to Begin, which is the story of a woman on her 16th birthday and on her 52nd birthday, set all those years apart, but obviously it's just one day in her life told over the chapters, and things that happened to her when she was 16 that really shaped her. And it's set in the 80s, obviously, when I was 16. Again, I'm trying to do maths, but I think that's right, yeah. And it's just how little things can really, one word can shame you, can upset you, can lodge in your head like a little dagger that never really goes away, and other ideas can take root from it, and before you know it, it forms who you are, other people's opinion on you, even if it's inaccurate, things that people can say. So she is a victim of slut shaming. She has so many sort of self-conscious issues going on that this 52, 53-year-old woman really battles with, but you can see how they're all embedded in things that happened to her when she was a teenager, and I think that really resonates. And it was nice going back to the 80s as well, writing and listening to the music and the clothes and just the habits of our time, and how I think without having social media and cameras everywhere, in some ways we were a lot freer. You know, I knew it was okay to snog and, you know, snog boys and do stuff. There was no one going to capture it with a picture, or no one was going to, it wasn't there for constant recall like it is with teenagers today. And I think that's I'd find that really hard to struggle with. I had a certain freedom. I didn't in many ways, you know. I think even though it was way advanced in terms of contraception and opportunities for girls in particular, I still feel that you know, our parents had one foot in sort of wartime and Victoriana, certainly, and our grandparents. So in a way, we were constricted by a lot of things that children aren't today. But still, I felt it was a free time, and yet those actions that she undertakes, Bess, her name is Bessie, they come back to haunt her at 52. So, yeah, I really like that book, Waiting to Begin. I think it's one for women with sort of maybe slightly more years, you know, behind them than ahead, and regrets. And we all think of the people we're going to become when we're 16. We have this image in our head of our life, and very often it's either I'm going to be like my mum or I'm going to be the opposite of my mum. You know, it's like that, isn't it? But her life is different in just about every way to what she imagined. It's quite sad, it's quite funny, but yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Sounds wonderful.
Rowan?
I think I've got, so I suppose the first book I wrote that really attracted a lot of readers is The Accidental Mother, and I'm fond of it for that reason. But also because I think it's the first time I realised I felt that I was writing comedy, rom-com, but also with more kind of emotional undertones and a sort of deeper resonance to the story. And I think that's probably the sort of set me on the path to the books that I write now. I'm extremely fond of the memory book because it was like it marked one of those sort of.
It's a pivotal point in your life with the.
Yeah, it was a real watermark book for me. It it really kind of changed the way that I write and the way that and the ambition that I have for my writing. And just the way, and there are some books, I think the books that I like the most are the ones that just come fully formed into your head, and that only happens about once every 5 to 6 years for me. So when that happens, I really tend to feel quite fond of those books. And of Summer of Impossible Things, which I love. It means a lot to me, that book. And it means a lot to me that readers have not only discovered it when they've published it, but they continue to recommend it and discover it. And the word of mouth on it has been really, really strong. And I love that. I love that it still sells. 3-4 years after it was published, it still sells on really well because people keep talking to each other about it. And that gives me a lot of joy. So I think those, from my Rowan books, those are my favourites.
Thank you. Just going to recap again for our viewers out there. There's quite a lot of love out there for you, Mandy. Thanking you for sharing your story and feeling very choked up listening. And Tina wants to know, hold on, she doesn't know how you could still write books when you, Josh and Simeon were going through hell, but she thinks Josh could be an author, maybe write a comedy. Maybe.
Josh is still writing, which is wonderful. It's kind of like become his little therapy, which we all know.
Good.
Mainly,
Good.
Certainly, yeah.
Karen Perkins loved A Girl at a Window. Really brings Pondon Hall and the moors alive, and so did Lisa. Lisa also said the same. Now, I don't know what's going on with Jo Edwards. I know Jo. She is a super fan, and I think you guys should be worried because she is seriously commenting here non-stop. Yes, Rowan writes brilliantly as her or Bella, and everyone should follow Rowan reading her books. And your dress for the TV awards is going to be amazing. Do I know what she's talking about here? Rowan?
So I said the other day on Facebook that I'd had passing interest from a film company about a book of mine, and that whenever that happens I instantly fast forward to the Oscar ceremony. But actually it was a different book.
Oh.
So I don't know, that still may come to nothing, but obviously I still always think that one day I'll end up at an Oscar ceremony. I mean, Jojo Moyes did, didn't she? So it's possible, it can happen.
Question for Rowan. Anna, again, she's read The Vanished Bride and loved it. It made her laugh. Great story, and she loves the bickering between the siblings. How do you get the idea to write these stories? Where do you get the inspiration from?
That came, the idea for the Bronte mysteries came when I was writing The Girl at the Window. It's set in Haworth, it's set in Bronte country. Pondon Hall is very steeped in Bronte history. The Brontes used to visit it all the time to use the library there, and they were friends of the Heatons. And there's a 17th century mystery in The Girl at the Window that my contemporary heroine is trying to solve. And I thought to myself that it would be quite fun to put a cameo in of the Bronte sisters trying to solve the same mystery. And then when I was thinking about it, I thought, wait a minute, Bronte sisters solving mysteries? That should be its own book. And I couldn't believe actually that somebody hadn't done it already. So I stuck a pin in it and finished The Girl at the Window. And then, well, 2 years later, The Vanished Bride came out, which is their first adventures as amateur sleuths, trying to discover the whereabouts of the missing young bride who has vanished from her home, leaving a room covered in blood, locked room covered in blood, but there's no sign of her, no sign of the body, and nobody seems to be investigating.
Question for the three of you from Karen Roberts. How disciplined are you all with your writing? Do you allot a certain time each day to write solidly for hours at a time, or do you just write when you feel like it's going to flow? Lisa's laughing at that one. Why are you laughing?
Oh no, I compartmentalise my life very neatly. I can't. My book doesn't flow through my days and into my dreams, and I don't carry it around with me the whole time. It's something that sits in a box until I open up my document on my screen and think it's time to work. So I try not to do any other computer-based work while I'm writing. So I divide my day up so that I've got all my computer-based other stuff out of the way before I start writing. So write, move, email, all the others, the social media and what have you. I get that all out of the way first. Housework, domestic duties, dog walk, get everything out of the way, have something to eat, and then I start work generally about 2 o'clock. And I work through, in the early days of the book, just until I've written 1,000 words. When I get towards the end of the writing process and my deadline is looming, I'll just keep writing. Luckily, my children are old enough now that I don't have to stop when they finish school, which is fantastic. I can just keep going. So sort of from 2 till 6, I will write. And then I will shut my computer and I'll go home and I will shall not think of it again. Unless I've got a plot thing that's really bugging me. And then I tend to think about it while I'm in the shower or when I'm walking. But most of the time I'm thinking about 1,000,001 other things. So yeah, I'm not one of those writers who lives their books while they're writing them at all. I'm very businesslike about it. So that is how I.
And Amanda, how do you do yours? How's yours?
I suppose similar to Lisa in some ways, in that I will get everything I need to get done out of the way so I'm free to write. But when I start writing, if I'm in the grips of a new book, I can write for 15 hours.
Oh!
I know, the house is, honestly, the kids don't get fed.
Do you not get uncomfortable? Do you not get stiff?
No. I do move sometimes. I do get up and go for a wheelie, and have a bit of toast and a cup of coffee. Check right move, obviously.
But it is quite often it is physical discomfort that makes me stop writing.
Absolutely.
I cannot sit in this chair for another second.
In these chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, can we just do a little quick? So that's a lovely chair you're sitting on there, Rowan. Does yours do this too? Oh, where did you get your chair from? It's at
Planet.
Planet Interiors?
Yes.
I know that company. Super. Sorry, carry on, Amanda. You could sit comfortably in this chair for at least 15 hours.
I tend to move around a lot, so I sort of move from sofa to sofa, or sometimes I go to bed, or if it's nice weather, I'm outside, and I do sort of get up and move. But I find that if I'm in it, I'm thinking about it while I'm walking the dogs, or when I'm trying to work things through. So I do tend to go a bit nuts with it. I do get a bit obsessed with it, I must admit. But then, having said that, today I was sort of writing in my head while I was chopping down a tree. Yes, chopping down a tree. So I tend to. While I'm doing other things, I do tend to, I find I'm still writing in my head. And I'm always sort of writing, I'm thinking of my next one while I'm writing the one I'm on, which is an odd habit, but I've just got used to doing that because I have this fear of not having the next one ready to go, because I don't, that's just how I work. It's how I work. I always think I'm on borrowed time. I always think I've got to just keep going. It's a bit like being on a joyous hamster wheel of my own making. So I do write for hours and hours. And then when I hand in, I don't read it until I've finished it. I send it straight off to my editor. And the first time I read it is when the first version comes back with her, 2 editors actually, comes back with their edits on it. That's when I have a read through. So I'm able to sort of put it to one side to start on the next one, if you see what I mean, because it's not sort of so fresh. But yeah, I do get obsessed with it. But I'm also quite businesslike about it. I think because I'm always used to working for other people paying my rent, paying my mortgage, paying for my, paying my bills. Even though technically I work for myself, I'm an author, I still feel incredibly obligated to the people who, give me money to write a book. So I still feel, I better not, I can't just slack off. I need to crack on with it. Worried about letting people down, or worried about, it not being as good as the last one. I think it sort of motivates me to. I think I don't relax about it. It is it's a business too.
I totally agree with that. I absolutely see it very much as it's my duty. So when people say I don't know how you do it, I say I do it because it's my job.
Yes, that's right.
That's what I get to do. What else am I going to do? It's my job.
It's not like Barbara Cartland, is it? Laying there on your chaise or something, grape, and you just, No, it's not that exactly right.
She doesn't think you writing is a hobby, Lisa, because you're her favourite author.
Yeah.
Lisa is my mother's favourite.
This is hilarious. Oh, God.
Let's just think about that.
You know what? A few years ago, a friend of mine said to me, she said, my mum's a big reader. So I said, do you want to give her a couple of my books? She said, that'd be brilliant. So I gave her a couple of books, and she brought them back to me, and she said, no, thanks. You've got anything by Katie Ford?
Oh my God, I can't believe your friend actually told you that.
She brought back, she said they weren't a cup of tea. Got anything by Katie Ford? I was like, no, that Katie Ford, no. So did actually have lots of Katie Ford books, but I'm going to share them.
Now, sorry, I'm on.
Rowan hasn't answered the question yet. Just saying.
I'm going to. My dog is driving me mad. So if you see me disappearing, I'm going to have to go. He's gone now. Okay, sorry, Rowan, your turn now. Sorry.
I used to think that I was a disciplined author, and I used to teach, and I used to say, you've got to write every day, you've got to sit at your desk, and you've got to carve out time, and blah, 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 blah. And then I was saying all of this at a library event a couple of years ago, and I had to take my twins with me, and they were 6 at the time. And they were sitting in very demurely in the front row, and I was going, and so, I start work at 10, and then I stay at my desk, and they go, my little boy's standing, said, no, you don't, Mummy. I said, what do you mean I don't? Went, you don't. You watch a movie in the morning, and then you faff about on the internet, and then you do this and then you do that. And I suddenly thought, I'm not a disciplined author at all. I've been deluding myself all these years. So I'm not disciplined in the way that I sort of have regular hours, but I think I am disciplined in that I always write a book, and I always finish a book, and I always meet a deadline, because for me that is it's somehow it happens, but I don't really know how it happens. It just
happens because it has to happen, Rowan.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes, it has to happen.
I didn't get to my desk until 3 o'clock today, and then
Riley!
He was driving me mad. Just say hello.
He's so beautiful.
Sorry, now he was scratching away. Now, Rowan, this is this is more for you. Now, Alex, you know Alex Hawley. I'm sure you've connected with Alex before. He has actually asked, as a person with dyslexia, as he is a person also with dyslexia, trying to write a book, what would your tips be?
My tip is my tip is your first, just write your first draft without thinking about it. So I always think of my first draft as my free fall draft, and I just write it, and I don't go back, I don't reread it until it's finished, and it can typically be quite illegible and hard to read, but once I've got it all down and I've got the story down, whether or not another person could read it, then I can go back and I can make sense of it and sort it out. And I've kind of done the most difficult creative part of the whole process, and then you go back and you make it as literate as I can, and then I have it proofread. So
thank God, yes.
So I think it's really important to focus on your strengths. As a dyslexic, you're going to be a very creative person. You're going to be a visual thinker. You're going to be very filmic in your thinking, and you're very good at problem solving. So just treat your dyslexia like a superpower, and just let your writing flow, and then you can go back and do all the boring nuts and boltsy fixing it stuff later.
Thank you. Well, back to the actual schedule that I sent you earlier. What are you reading? Do you read much yourselves? I'm presuming most authors always say read. So I'm hoping the answer is yes, of course I read, and this is what I'm reading at the moment. So Lisa, what are you reading at the moment?
Which I'm reading this because my editor, who is possibly the most important person in my life, that she edited this, and she asked if I could possibly read it really quickly for her and come back with a quote for it, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's about a little girl who, when she's 8 years old, she's obviously got some sort of psychological problems. She murders her 2-year-old boy.
Hang on, let me write this down. It's right up my alley. The first day of spring.
Tracy.
Yeah, I'll have that. Thank you.
As an 8-year-old girl, for the fun of it, she murders a 2-year-old boy.
Sounds brilliant.
And it follows her. She goes to prison for it, and so it tells the story of her childhood and what her life after committing this terrible crime, and it also tells the story of her with her new changed. She has a changed identity because the press know her actual name.
Good. I want that. Can you get them to send me one?
Yes.
Have a word.
You just ask my secretary, best-selling author Lisa Jewell.
I will get Selena to send you a copy.
Get Selena to send me one, yes, please.
And yeah, it's set up north, and it's got lots of lovely northern colloquialisms in it.
Right. Oh, that's one for the group. Right. Lovely. Thank you.
Good.
Amanda, in between everything, do you have time to read anything?
I do, and actually, do you know what? I don't have a book on the go at the moment, and I feel very edgy. It's that feeling that when I go to bed tonight, I'm going to have to grab something that's by the side of the bed.
I hope that's not Simon.
It's going to rephrase that. I'm going to grab something that I've already read. The last book I read was actually a reread for me, and it was by Saida Ruas. It was called The Assembly of the Dead, and it's absolutely fantastic. Ruas is Rouass, and it's The Assembly of the Dead, and it's a bit like a sort of historic Jack the Ripper story, but set in Morocco at the turn of the century. Oh my gosh. I was given a copy. A sister's friend of mine, she gave me this copy, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll give it a read. You know, sometimes people often want you to read books, and sometimes it can feel a bit choresome because they're not quite your taste, but because someone's given it to you, you sort of feel obligated, don't you? You sort of feel rude not to. Oh, I was absolutely hooked. I love her writing. She's just writing her second one, and she painstakingly has taken so much attention to the detail of the period. You know, the clothes, the costume, the food, everything. I was in Morocco. I was feeling the heat on my skin, and I absolutely loved it. And it was nice to read about a place that isn't so overly represented in sort of literature. You know, that I have access to. It was absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I thoroughly recommend it.
Lovely, Rowan.
I do read a lot. I mean, I have to read a lot for research, and I love that. I'm afraid. I'm just a nerd. I like reading nerdy, tiny, historical, factual stuff. But I've recently read a few great novels. There's a novel that's out just now called The Crowfolk by Mark Stay, and it's a sort of, I mean, I don't know what you would call it. I think it's one of those rare books that you could read from age 8 upwards. It's a book about witches in World War II, and I just loved it. It's sort of got a bit of like Wurzel Gummidge and mixed with Harry Potter and Diana Wynne Jones. It's just a really gorgeous escapist piece of writing, and the thing I love about it is you could read it as a family and really all enjoy it. And I've also recently read The Deception of Harriet Fleet. I forget the author's name, which is terrible, but it's Scarlet somebody, and it's just brilliant. It's a Victorian mystery. It's really, really gripping and sinister. And the next thing that I've just begun reading, I haven't finished it yet, is Erin Kelly's Watch Her Fall, which
I just got mine.
Oh, I just love.
So excited about reading that.
I love her books, and I love this subject. It's a ballet. It's set in a ballet, and it's just brilliant. I mean, I'm already very excited about it. I can't show you any covers because during lockdown I got converted into a Kindle reader. So I've only got Kindle to show you now, but it's I'm just really already gripped by that. So that's a very exciting book coming up.
Philippa's just pre-ordered The First Day of Spring. So a very important question now, obviously, that if you had a film made of your life, which actress should play you, Lisa?
It would have to be Meryl Streep, purely because I think I bear a passing resemblance to Meryl Streep, and also because she's an amazingly good actress. So I should just say Meryl Streep for those two very simple reasons.
Excellent. Good call. Yeah. Amanda?
George Clooney.
Is that because of the stubble, or?
I think we'd have to start off by obviously having dinner to discuss the role. And
Yes.
I don't think we could actually cover it in dinner, so it's probably better if he just moves in for a couple of months. So we can get down to the finer detail of every aspect of my life. I think he'd do a great job.
You've obviously given that a lot of thought. Good answer. Okay, and Rowan, do I dare ask you?
I now want to say Keanu Reeves, but that would be copying Amanda. My first.
You're busy. You can have Keanu.
Oh, thanks. I would like Rachel Weisz to play me.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
A, brilliant. B, very much more beautiful and thinner than me. And C, married to James Bond. So all these things, I think, make her the perfect person to play me.
Yes.
Now, before we've got, if anyone wants to ask any more questions from the book club, if you can type them in shortly, or type them in now. I've just got a couple of quick fire questions. Now, Amanda, I did actually interview you on my blog, Compulsive Readers, back in 2017, and I found the questions I asked you. So I'm curious whether your answers are going to be the same 3 or 4 years later. These are serious questions here. Hold on. So I'm going to ask, they're all for all of you. Would you rather your only mode of transport be a donkey or a giraffe? Lisa?
Donkey.
Amanda?
Giraffe.
Allergic to donkeys.
Right, well, Amanda, that's funny because 3 years ago you chose a donkey and you said who in their right mind would pick a giraffe?
Yes.
I've grown since then. I've grown, and I now realise I live now. You see, the reason for that is I've changed my living habitat. I now live with very high hedges down narrow lanes, so a giraffe could have my sea over.
Oh, Amanda, there is a life-size giraffe chandelier that you can buy for a mere £4,000 on the internet.
Life-size.
Life-size. Should you wish it, because I myself long for it but can't have it. But should you wish it, I think you should get that life-size giraffe.
How would it hang? Where would you have to stand high ceiling?
The giraffe stands and in its mouth is the chandelier.
Oh, I see. Okay.
White, it's like a white sculpture.
Yeah.
I actually made a pledge when we bought our house. I actually made a pledge that everything I was going to buy, interiors and everything, was going to be second hand. So apart from a couple of sofas, everything in my house is upcycled or recycled second
Good
hand.
girl.
Nothing is brand new. So I couldn't have
Good.
Buy it off me.
Well, yeah, Rowan can buy it, and then it'll be second hand.
That would work. That would work if you gave it a good kick in, so it was a bit dented. That would fit my house then.
Okay, next question. And again, let's see, Amanda, if you've changed your mind. We'll start with Lisa, though. Would you rather be completely invisible for one day or be able to fly for one day?
I used to want to be invisible because I think I was much more interested in what other people thought about me. And I don't really care so much anymore because I'm old now. So I think definitely flying now. Yeah.
Okay. Amanda?
Word for word what Lisa said.
Okay.
Same.
Interesting. Okay. Would you, Lisa, again, all of you, would you rather be able to teleport anywhere or be able to read minds?
Oh, I think you said read wines. Read minds. Oh. Again, I think this is something that's changed. Again, I think I'll go for the teleporting now, purely because
Can't go anywhere.
getting around is just such a faff half the time, isn't it?
You can't leave home anyway.
And you can't go anywhere anyway. Yeah, no, I think I'd definitely go for teleporting at this stage of my life, yes.
Amanda?
Same. I'm desperate to go to Weston-super-Mare, but I'm not allowed. I'd teleport up the pier just for an hour, have a little wander, breathe some sea air, bag of chips, and then home. Lovely.
Lovely.
Rowan?
Tracy, you keep leaving me out.
I just said Rowan. Sorry, go on. Teleport or read minds?
I keep asking Professor Brian Cox to invent teleportation,
Yes.
but for some reason he never replies to my tweets. Don't know why. But teleportation has always been my long life dream because I've always hated schlepping from one place to another.
Yes.
And you even feature it in one of your books, kind of, sort of.
Yes, I do.
There you go. There's a nice little plug for one of your books. Right, we'll start with you now, Rowan. Would you rather have unlimited sushi for life or unlimited pizza for life?
Sushi. I don't like pizza. It's just fancy cheese on toast. I don't understand it. Why do people get so excited about pizza? But I do like sushi very much. So unlimited sushi, and also I could feed my daughter every day for free, which would be great because she eats me out of house and home. So in a healthy way and perfectly proportioned, just in case she's watching.
Amanda, pizza or sushi?
Sushi. I love sushi. I don't know. I don't have it very often because obviously we don't have much sushi shops around here. I would love it. I'd love a bit of sushi. In fact, I could do sushi right now. Now you're talking about it.
We need to find you sushi on a giraffe chandelier.
Tracy, if anyone can,
leave it with me. I'll be
All right.
In a minute, you'll have Amazon Prime knocking at your door with your sushi. Lisa, what one? Sushi or pizza?
I used to agree with Rowan actually about pizza. I never understood why anybody would order a pizza.
No.
And then I just had this, the same thing happened to me with chicken wings. When I turned 50, I just suddenly developed a real appetite for chicken wings and pizza. But having said that, if it was for the rest of my life, it would have to be sushi. Particularly if it was like the whole gamut of the sushi world, not just like one roll. If it was just like salmon maki forever, I'd probably rather have the pizza. But if it was like a whole sushi
just one continuous roll of salmon maki forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Okay. I just realised, looking at you, that two of you have taken me out for a very nice dinner at the same restaurant.
Oh, which two?
Well, Lisa and Amanda. We both.
I took you out for dinner.
You did. You took me out for a very nice pub lunch. It's not quite the same. Where did we? We went to a very nice restaurant.
Dinner, and then I talked to your book group for free.
Okay, but I got exquisite, nice food and charming company.
And then
I had dinner with Amanda. Fish and chip, chips, and you actually ordered from the waiter some tomato ketchup and told them it was for me because you were too embarrassed to order the tomato ketchup yourself.
I said, I'm sorry about my friend, but can she have some ketchup? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. And they went, okay, madam.
You're allowed ketchup with fish and chips, aren't you?
Not there, apparently. Not there.
It was very posh. Yeah. Nice, though.
Very nice. Well, please God, we'll do it again at the end of the year when we've all had the vaccine.
Yeah.
I'll take you to a posh restaurant one day, Tracy.
Lovely. Thank you.
In the meantime, at the end of the year, I'm going to have a big, glamorous 50th birthday party. So hopefully lots of people will come to that. And that would be
lovely.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
I've got one more silly question, and then I'm going to leave you guys to go and do whatever it is you've got to do. And now, Rowan, I did ask you this question once on one of my interviews on the blog. And I asked you what was the strangest fan question or request you've received. Now, I know what you told me then. I don't know if anything's changed, but it might be something. So I'm just curious for all three of you. Have you had any really odd fan requests or questions? Anything spring to mind? Someone's giggling naughtily down there.
I was doing an event in Windsor a few years ago, and a gentleman asked if he could take a picture of me and his wife, and I said yeah, of course, and stood next to his wife, and then he went, brilliant, now I've got my two favourite women in one picture.
Oh.
I was like, is that a bit awkward?
Oh, I think that's quite sweet. Is that not sweet? I suppose it depends on him, I guess.
Lisa, any?
Yeah, well, mine's really, I don't know. Mine's a bit sort of sad as well. You know, sometimes at a signing, somebody keeps going to the back of the queue, and they keep letting people in front of them, and you know it's because they want to have
a longer chat
impossible with you in the signing. And I saw this girl just kept letting everybody in, and then she finally got to me, and she had loads of my books, like a real sort of backlist stack. And she said that everybody in her family died young, and she knew that she was not going to be able to have children of her own because she was going to die young. And she wanted me to sign all of my books, her copies of my books, to her unborn children. And that was quite peculiar. Yes. So I just sort of said, well, what would you like me to write? She said, oh, I don't know. You could just put my name in, I suppose. And I realised that the whole thing was just that she wanted to share that with me. She didn't really want me to sign my books to her unborn children. She just wanted me to know that that was her sadness. And yes, so sorry, that's not a funny, quirky one, but it was a very unexpected one.
You know, I was having a lovely time until then. Now I'm on a write downer.
Well, then, yeah, come on, you must have been sent some really disgusting things in the post.
No, I think the weirdest thing, well, not the weirdest, I suppose the most unusual request was I was at a book signing and someone said, oh, you don't mind if I smell your hair, do you? And I went, no, that's fine, because I didn't know what to say. And they literally just came in and went...
They were talking about the hair on your head, though.
And I didn't know what to say, so I just went, oh, yes, of course, because I was being polite. And it was only after they'd done it that I thought, that was a little bit weird. But
I would say that's stepping boundaries. Yes. Stepping boundaries. However, I did ask somebody if I could touch her hair the other day because it was so shiny.
You shouldn't be touching anyone. 2 meters.
In the middle of the pandemic?
2 meters.
The other day, I mean last year before last.
Yeah, the other day is in 2018. It was a good time.
My hair sniffing was also pre-COVID, I should point out, so it was safe to sniff hair at that time. In the olden days when we were allowed to sniff each other's hair and lick doorknobs in train stations.
Oh, the good old days, yes.
I miss it.
So, obviously we're now entering a new year, and I'm not going to go political, we're not going to talk about the pandemic, but let's talk about some things positive like New Year resolutions. We all must have some, do we? Lisa, anything?
I don't like setting myself up to fail. It's not my style. I just like to wake up every morning, hope it's a decent day, hope I manage to get a bit of work done, don't eat too much, go for a good walk, not kill anyone, just that's I don't do resolutions, so no, not for me. I just want to get through this year in one piece with all the people I love in one piece, and that will do me.
Oh, so yeah, lovely. So basically, as long as you don't kill anyone, it's been a good day.
Correct.
Okay. Brilliant.
And not eating too many calories. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Amanda, have you got any New Year's resolutions?
I don't do them because I used to fail on day one. So it's always about my weight, always has been, always will be probably. So I'd be like, right, I'm going to diet. I'm not going to eat that trifle, not going to eat the trifle, need trifle, go to fridge, eat trifle. That was like 12 midday on January the 1st. So, then I'd feel miserable and I'd blown it. So I've blown it, I may as well eat another trifle. And I find if I'm just a bit more relaxed about everything, then that's good for me. Very much like Lisa, just thinking, you know what, these days, if I can get out with, clean pants and fully clothed and manage to get through a day, then that's a real plus for me. And I think also everyone's life's changing, isn't it? Everyone's life's changed, and it's definitely, I know we all feel the same, it's the small stuff. It's having a nice cup of tea with the people I love. It's
nice cup of tea. Yes.
Oh, nice cup of tea. It's just those little things during these times of big change, I think, have become even more important.
Yes.
Sounding like very preachy. I think I'm really genuinely trying to sort of appreciate all the small stuff for what it is, which is actually the big stuff. So.
Yeah,
absolutely. Rowan's going to now say she's about to run a marathon and learn the violin or something.
No. I don't really have resolutions either for the same reasons as Lisa and Amanda, but I do look forward with. I hope that myself and my family get through the next year, and with good health. But I just look forward to going to a party and dancing and drinking too much and hugging my friends. And prior to all the lockdowns, I'd become a bit reclusive and quite a lot of social anxiety, and I just didn't really like going to parties and book launches and things like that. Now that I've had to stay at home for the last year, I just can't wait to make people I don't know. So I think I'm cured of that, and I just want to, as soon as we're allowed, I want to make the most of the opportunities that we have to travel and see friends and dance and enjoy life.
And eat in lovely restaurants with Tracy.
Yes, take me out for dinner again. Lovely. I just want to say to the three of you, thank you so much for joining me. I hope it hasn't been too, whatever, I don't care. As long as you were here talking about your books, and I love you all. I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone at the book club now. So thank you everyone for watching. I'm just going to turn off everything. Hold on a sec.